so much Senator Portman. He is an amazing, amazing man, and I've had the great pleasure to work with him on so many things. He touched on a few of them, but what a great guy. We need more people like Senator Portman in Washington. And I'd also like to say congratulations, hopefully, and good luck to Christina, who's fighting the good fight. So, good luck, Christina. Well, it is good to be back in Ohio. Oh, do I love it here. We have been all over the country on the road fighting for this president and for the future of this nation. I think my team was just telling me 12 states, 40 stops in just a couple of weeks. So we are working hard, just like all of you are. And in 3 days from now, we are going to win. And we are going to secure 4 more years for the people's president, my father, Donald J. Trump. That's right. Before my father ran for office, I think I was a lot like many people probably in this audience. Politics was certainly not my life. When I came to Washington, I quickly learned why the political establishment fought so hard to keep our president out of office. In the swamp, it is easy for politicians to survive if they silence their convictions and if they skip the hard fights. I was shocked to see just how many people leave major challenges unsolved so they can campaign on the same issue in the next election. It's shocking. Happens all the time. You guys see it. But Donald Trump did not come to Washington to win the praise of the Beltway elites. Donald Trump came to Washington for one reason, and one reason only: to make America great again. For the first time in a long time, we have a president who's called out Washington's hypocrisy, and they hate him for it. My father, thank you, he loves you too. My father has very strong convictions. He knows what he believes, and he says what he thinks, always. Whether you agree with him or not, you always know where he stands, always. I recognize, maybe not to this group, but to some people, his communication style is a bit unusual. Look how diplomatic I'm being. And some say his tweets are even a bit unfiltered. You guys love them. But to those people, I have to say the results, well, the results, they speak for themselves. That's what we want. We want results. Unlike politicians, when my father makes a promise, he keeps his promise. In less than 4 years, President Trump has rebuilt the United States military, secured America's borders, defeated the ISIS caliphate, fostered peace in the Middle East, delivered historic tax and regulatory cuts, fixed our broken trade deals, and brought jobs back to America and back to Ohio. President Trump has done more for Ohio in 47 months than Joe Biden has in 47 years. Just a few days ago, our president fulfilled yet another promise. America gained the newest member of the Supreme Court, Justice Amy Coney Barrett. As long as my father is president, he will protect the rights enshrined in the Constitution, including the right to keep and bear arms, the right to religious liberty, and the right to free speech. Everything we hold dear is at stake in this election. The Democrat Party is not the party they used to be. I'm sure there are some former Democrats in this audience right now. I meet them across the country. Raise your hands. Look at that, right there. Welcome home, that's right. The tent, it's growing, it's growing. The reality is that the Democrat Party has a platform that lays out a plan to transform America into a socialist country. Can't happen. If you want a future of jobs, safety, opportunity, and freedom, then you have one choice in this election. That's to vote for Donald J. Trump. As our nation confronts an unprecedented global pandemic, President Trump has launched the largest industrial mobilization since World War II. He made sure every single governor had what they needed to beat back this virus, from military hospitals to PPE to ventilators. Some of your great companies here in Ohio produce ventilators for us. And let me tell you, they're not easy pieces of machinery to create. Our stockpile had been completely depleted by the last administration and never replenished. The fact that we were able to mobilize industry to make sure every governor had the ventilators they need was extraordinary. And now we're sending them to nations around the world. So it's an amazing thing. Thanks to America's incredible, thank you. Happy Halloween. I was expecting a few more costumes. Do we have any costumes here? Do we have any kids in costumes? There we go. Look at this. Get up here. Now, these are good costumes. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. He said he's dressed up like a voter. That's a great costume, too. Look at you guys. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, buddy. Happy birthday. Thank you. I love this costume. This is so cool. My toy costume. Amazing. And you're getting started on the snacks. Yeah. Awesome, guys. Have fun today. And I got toys. She says, and I got toys. That's really good. I don't have toys for my kids, only snacks today, so don't tell them that. Thank you. Thank you. I celebrated my birthday yesterday on the road in Wisconsin and in Michigan, and it was awesome. A lot of love, so it was good. Oh. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I love you guys. Thank you. That's so nice. I'll never forget that. Thank you. So back to a slightly different subject, the coronavirus. Thanks to America's medical genius, and this is something we should all be very proud of, mortality rate in this country has plummeted by 85% since April of this year. The president's early and aggressive action to stop travel from China and then from Europe saved an estimated 2 million American lives. These were not easy decisions. I was in the room when he stopped travel from Europe, and there were a lot of people arguing that it was premature, but he did the right thing because he needed to get the country prepared. Through Operation Warp Speed, we are on track to deliver a safe and effective vaccine by the end of this year. The scientists, they say, and it's extraordinary, just through streamlining the bureaucracy of the process, he has been able to accomplish in 5 to 6 months what would have taken 5 to 6 years. It's amazing. We have built up supplies, testing, and treatment, and we are protecting the most vulnerable while healthy Americans go back to work and back to school. In the last 5 months, 11.4 million Americans got their jobs back and went back to work. Through the Paycheck Protection Program, we helped save 1.9 million Ohio jobs. These are grants that went to small businesses so that they could make payroll. Extraordinary. This was no fault of their own. This is no fault of anyone's, this plague that came over and descended on our shores. America's small businesses are employers of 47% of America's workers, and we needed to protect them. They're also the heartbeat of so many communities across the nation. So the Paycheck Protection Program it's extraordinary when you think of the federal government and how quickly they mobilized. The Small Business Administration, which runs that program, just to give you a sense, in 14 days, they issued more loans to small businesses than in the 14 years prior. Herculean effort. Last quarter, just the other day, it was reported that our economy grew by an astounding 33.1%. The single largest GDP gain in American history. Thanks to President Trump, our economy is coming back, and it's going to come back stronger than ever. Joe Biden said he would shut down the entire country. But endless lockdowns, is that a strategy? Is that a strategy? That's not a strategy. President Trump will never surrender to the virus. He will defeat the plague, bring back our jobs, reopen this country, and 2021 will be the greatest year on record. The best is yet to come. That's exactly right. Optimism, it's important, and then to deliver on that optimism. Very important. He said 10 million jobs in 10 months, and he'll see it through. Time and time again, I've seen my father's relentless determination to deliver for you, the American people. One of the issues that was so central to his heart and to his campaign in 2016 was fair and reciprocal trade. But when President Trump arrived in Washington, many politicians, including a lot of Republicans, resisted any change. I'll never forget what my father told me once as we were walking back after a meeting with some of his top trade policy advisors. We were walking over to the residence along the colonnade. And he said, "You know, the reason this has never been done before is because our leaders have not had the guts. When things are good, they settle for good. And when things are bad, they don't have the will or ability, so they kick the can until it's somebody else's problem." And he was right. He was right. If he didn't do it, no one would have. In the months that followed, President Trump refused to settle for a good deal. He wanted a great deal, and that is exactly what we got. Yeah. I've noticed, and I'm sure some of you have, that recently Joe Biden has been plagiarizing the president's Made in America agenda. But the fact is that he supported every single disastrous trade deal that shipped our factories and good-paying American jobs overseas. Every one of them. Ohio lost 1 in 3 manufacturing jobs after the Biden-backed disasters of NAFTA and normalizing trade with China, bringing it in to the WTO. When Joe Biden was vice president, America lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs. In the first 3 years of President Trump, America gained 500,000 manufacturing jobs. It's Halloween, so I was planning on getting one of those beautiful magic wands. Remember that? The magic wand. You would need a magic wand to bring back manufacturing. You need a little vision. Yes, and the magic wand is Donald Trump. As my father says, Joe Biden should not be demanding the support of American workers. He should be begging you for his forgiveness. President Trump, on the other hand, is advancing American values of work and of family. We secured the largest ever increase for child care funding, giving more than 800,000 low-income parents the child care they need at a price that they can afford. Senator Portman mentioned it earlier, but as part of Republican tax cuts, in 2019 alone, our child tax credit put over $2,000 back into the pockets of 40 million American families. And that was only 2019. Democrat politicians have recently introduced a plan to double the child tax credit. Yet when I was fighting less than 3 years ago at the president's direction to increase that same tax credit, not a single Democrat voted to pass the law. We got it done anyway. Now, Joe Biden has pledged to raise taxes on working families by $4 trillion. We can't let it happen. We won't let it happen. As I said, in a second term, President Trump will cut your taxes again, and he will create 10 million jobs in 10 months. President Trump created the most inclusive economy in American history, one that permits people to rise again. During President Trump's first 3 years in office, 72% of all new jobs were secured by Americans outside of the workforce. Think about that. It's amazing. Wages were rising. Unemployment across every demographic was so low that employers were getting creative. They were investing in worker skills. They were reaching out into communities and finding people who had been marginalized and sidelined. 72% of all new jobs were secured by workers on the sidelines. Amazing. Through our pledge to America's workers, we called upon the private sector to hire and train more than 16 million Americans for the jobs of today and the careers of the future. No one's done more to help advance vocational education and job training and working with the private sector than our president. Today, we are delighted to be joined by Claudia and Chip Kovach. Claudia, Chip, please stand. Thank you both. They are with City Machine Technologies, and they signed our pledge to America's workers to invest in the skills of their own workforce and training opportunities. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. They joined more than 400 companies, big and small, across the nation to make that pledge. We appreciate it. In a second term, we will provide vocational education to every high school in America and school choice to every parent across our nation. Joe Biden has opposed school choice, and he pledges, and I quote, that when he is in office, charter schools will be, quote, gone. Gone. While Democrats are focused on making Americans dependent on Washington, we are focused on liberating Americans to thrive. To revitalize neglected communities, we created nearly 9,000 opportunity zones, including 320 right here in Ohio. It was President Trump that rectified the disparities of the 1994 Biden crime bill that disproportionately decimated African American communities. Against all odds, President Trump signed into law the most significant criminal justice reform in a generation. A lot of talk and not a lot of action on the other side on this issue for years. My brothers and I, and they've been spending a lot of time here in Ohio as well, we joke that my father has kept more promises than he's made, which is actually true. He didn't promise criminal justice reform. He didn't campaign on it. He did it because it was the right thing to do. Many of the issues my father has campaigned on and championed since he's been in office are not historically Republican priorities. Yet where Washington chooses sides, our president chooses common sense. Where politicians choose party, our president chooses people. Since the day he took the oath of office, I've watched my father take on the failed policies of the past and do what no leader before him has done. As an example, Joe Biden has been one of the loudest, biggest proponents of Big Pharma, which ripped off millions of American patients. My father, he's beholden to no one other than you. No one. It drives them crazy. It drives them crazy. President Trump recently took dramatic action to cut the cost of prescription drugs despite fielding angry calls from the CEOs of virtually every major pharmaceutical company. Oh, I heard them. They were not happy. Now, when I'm with my father and he sees one of these attack ads all over television, paid for by Big Pharma, he'll turn to me, he'll smile, and he'll say, "You know we're doing something really right if they're hitting us this hard." President Trump will always protect Social Security, Medicare, and patients with pre-existing conditions. Always. Our president has also achieved the previously unthinkable: energy independence. Could you imagine a decade ago, 2 decades ago, being able to say that? The United States is now a net exporter of oil and natural gas, and we are no longer dependent on foreign nations for our energy needs. Joe Biden, well, he has pledged to ban fracking, which would eliminate 700,000 Ohio jobs. In a second term, President Trump will further expand America's energy sector. My father is not afraid of questioning old conventions and finding bold new solutions that benefit the people. One example that I personally love and I think is really illustrative of his creativity is at the onset of the pandemic, the president, just like many of you, saw our great American crops from great American small farms going to waste. You all saw it. The dairy in Michigan being dumped down the drain, the crops being plowed under, while lines at food banks wrapped around the block. Many of the people on those lines had never been on those lines before, but this plague had descended on us so quickly. He called me and he directed me to work with Sonny Perdue, from agriculture to find a way to get this nutritious food from America's small farmers into the hands of families who need it the most. Fresh fruit, produce, meat, dairy, all of it. Within a matter of days, we launched the now wildly successful Farmers to Family Food Box program, and over 100 million meals have been delivered into the hands of families who need it. It's amazing. It's amazing. It helped our farmers who had suddenly lost their distribution channels when restaurants, hotels, et cetera, closed, and it helped the families in need. I was in a church recently, and the faith-based community, they stepped up. They were a large part of the recipients who received the grants to deliver these foods, and they would bring it that final mile. They'd get it, they'd package it, they'd bring it to those in need. And I was at a church recently in Pittsburgh, and a woman with her small child, she was holding a baby, was crying because she had never before eaten food like this, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, all from and grown on America's small farms. So it's a beautiful thing. Another issue that's very dear to my heart and that I'm deeply honored to have been empowered to work on alongside the president is combating the evil of human trafficking. This is an issue that no politician was talking about until the president came into office. Senator Portman was incredible. He worked on some of the best legislation, and we got it through with his strong, strong backing. And President Trump, in 3.5 years, signed into law 9 pieces of legislation to combat the evil of human trafficking and online child exploitation in the United States of America. Just a few days ago, here in Ohio, law enforcement conducted a month-long operation that arrested 179 suspects and rescued 45 missing children. 45 missing children. I mean, so incredible. Today, we are profoundly honored to be joined by a number of these incredible officers. They all helped in this case. Jeff Allen, please stand, Jeff. Where's Jeff? Bill Cranston, Tyrone Highshaw, Willie Harris, Kip Danks, Kelly Juanski, Steve McGeary, and Dan Barrich. You deserve this applause and then some. Come up on stage. Come up for a moment if you would. These are true heroes. President Trump will always back our men and women of law enforcement. How are you? Good to be. Would anyone like to say a few words? Would you like to come up, Kelly?
We just want to thank Ivanka for coming here today. We are blessed and that you are here, and we appreciate that your passion for human trafficking and for the children. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for what you did. Anyone else want to say a few words? No? We're good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Great job. Can you give this to your dad? Yeah, that's your dad. Of course, I absolutely will. Thank you. Thank you. It's because of an amazing, amazing human beings like this that we're going to stamp out this evil. And because the president is bringing the full force and weight of our government to combat it. Thank you. To change the paradigm in the Middle East, President Trump, again, took a fresh approach. I heard foreign leaders, I heard generals, I heard everyone begging him not to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. All of them. They would call, and I understood. So many past presidents had made the same promise and failed to deliver because of the pressure. He did it because it was the right thing to do. Defying all expectations, just last week, Sudan and Israel signed a peace agreement, making it the third such peace agreement between Israel and an Arab state in under 3 months. Oh, you should have heard them. My husband is working on this file with the president, and the condescension of Washington and the foreign policy establishment that they were taking a different approach. And now, 3 peace deals in under 3 months, where a peace deal with Israel had not been signed in 25 years prior. And more to come. President Trump is advancing peace through strength. He is ending the endless foreign wars, and he is bringing home America's airmen, Marines, our soldiers, all coming home. The legendary Winston Churchill said, and this is a quote I love, and I actually, on the way here, I was talking to my father, and I mentioned that I'd recently read this quote, and I told it to him, and he said, "Oh, that's really good. I may have to use that." So if you start hearing this in his speeches, know that he got it from me this morning. Winston Churchill said, "It was the nation that had the lion's heart. I just had the luck to give it the roar." How much does this remind you of our president and this movement? He gave us the roar. He gave us all the roar. Here in America, in this moment, we the people choose President Donald Trump. Four more years. My father is so unapologetic about his beliefs. See, I used to need to say that about him. Now everyone knows it. It makes it much easier. But I think my experience is true for a lot of you. I think he's made me and countless Americans ask ourselves what we believe. What are our convictions? What do we stand for? What kind of America do we want to leave for our children? I'm more certain than ever before that we want an America where we can believe in America's greatness. We want a society where every child can live in a safe community and go to a great school of their choice. We want a culture where differences of opinion and debate are encouraged, not canceled. Gotten out of control. Where law enforcement is respected. Where our country's rich diversity is celebrated. And where people of all backgrounds, races, religions, and creeds have the chance to achieve their God-given potential. This is the America my father is fighting for every single day. USA. Washington has not changed Donald Trump. Donald Trump has changed Washington. Of all the things he's done, that's maybe what I'm most proud of. I see that town. People, even really well-intended people, they go to Washington and they totally lose their compass. They forget who sent them there, and they forget what they're fighting for, and they go with the flow. Well, not this president. You know what? The swamp bites back, but he doesn't care. He'll keep fighting through it for you. America does not need another empty vessel who will do whatever the media and the fringe of his party demands. Now more than ever, America needs 4 more years of a warrior in the White House. My father fights so hard every single day for each one of us. Now we have an opportunity to fight for him and fight for the future of this country. With your help, your voice, and your vote, on November 3rd, we will win another historic victory, and we will make America greater than ever before. Thank you, Youngstown. Thank you, Ohio. God bless you.